Ciao, Bianconeri. I'm Justin Sofro, and welcome back to the Bianconeri Zone. What's up, guys? It's Monday, May 31st, and I know I lied to you all and told you that we'd be launching on Tuesday, June 1st. Also didn't realize June 1st was a Tuesday, but we'll be starting today. Today will be our official launch date. We just couldn't wait. We couldn't hold ourselves back. So we'll get started with a news rundown this evening. For the latest news, actually, it was a pretty slow news day. Not a lot going on. And maybe in the world of the rumors and stuff that you care about, but there's enough that we can talk about. So we'll run through it now. So we'll start it off now. Going to our friends over at Tuto Sport and what they're reporting. Basically, Tuto Sport is saying that Allegri has a list of players that he really wants to keep, and that he wants to stay and retain them for his return season with Juventus. And those players include Matthijs de Ligt, Leonardo Bonucci, Giorgio Chiellini, Adrien Rabiot, Dejan Kulusevski, Federico Chiesa, Paulo Dybala, and Alvaro Morata. Not a lot of surprise coming from this group of individuals, from me at least. Obviously, de Ligt is one that's been kind of championed to be a potential future captain of Juventus, no matter what the Barcelona fans will try to tell you, and all the reports saying that they're going to try to get him to come back, or try to actually he made a mistake, or whatever they want to tell you. From everything I've heard, he's fairly comfortable here, and I'm sure you've seen the reports too, but he's comfortable in Turin. Leonardo Bonucci, some people may be against it. I don't know. To me, he and Chiellini are kind of those mainstays. Him, Chiellini, and then when you have Chiesa, you at least have an Italian core, and I think that's kind of what Allegri's going for. You want to have those Italian players that kind of they're good welcome wagons for any other individuals that may be coming in, regardless of if Bonucci is playing to the level that if Bonucci is playing to the level that you expect him to, or what you would want. Even though obviously Chiellini is still a great defender, but that one extra year that's being reported right now they're adding on was kind of a surprise, because many individuals pegged him to be out. I know some people were even reporting him going to the MLS or something like that, but I'm happy to see him get maybe one more swan song year. Adrien Rabiot, I'm happy he's coming back. Honestly, it's been kind of a 180 from last year. Adrien Rabiot was one that I was more than happy to kind of maybe see him on the outs. Following, he had some pretty poor games last year, or when I say last year, I mean 2019, 2020, not 2020, 2021. But he's really turned it on within the last, at least the last season or so. And so I've been really happy to see him look better and actually kind of live up more to that. He ended up being a good signing. Kulusevski's one that honestly I feel like he's been played out of position a lot. He didn't do great for a long periods of time under Pirlo, especially as that second striker role. I wasn't excited to see him in it, especially near the end of the season with Champions League on the line. But he did show up in those last couple games, and he played big roles in both of those in ensuring those vital last 3-6 points that we needed. Federico Chiesa, obviously he's probably one of my favorite players on the team currently, one of the best contributors, and he's the second highest scorer behind Ronaldo. Obviously, and then so Morata, I'm glad to see him come back, but Dybala is the one that I'm happy to see that they're going to hopefully try to find an agreement with him and try to make sure he stays with Juventus, because I think obviously he had a lot of injuries that he sustained over the last year or so. It's unfortunate they had to deal with that, but I think it's good that Allegri's going to give him the second chance, and maybe Allegri knows him better than Sarri or Pirlo did, to try to get him set up to produce as much as he can, and produce in a way that we expect at Apollo. One of the actually, when I look at this, I go to the Juventus roster, and there's a list of players. I'm reading through them. I'm not surprised that Bernardeschi's on that list. It's not him that I'm talking about. One of the names, the big name that I'm most shocked to not see is the one that's kind of a keep. You definitely want to retain him, is Juan Cuadrado. I want to say over the last season he's been kind of like, I want to say we listed him too on our website as the player of the year. Like it wasn't always scoring, but he had those big moments in the end of the season, as well as he was the guy always working hard to set up his teammates with just those pivotal crosses to set him up for scoring, or any kind of other any kind of other teamwork. He was always down to do the nitty gritty. So Juan Cuadrado is one that I would add to that list. Moving on, we're going to go on to Gazzetta dello Sport. And they're reporting that in the event that an offer should arrive for Ronaldo, Allegri would not oppose the move. Indeed, he probably already has a Juve without him in mind. Manchester United and PSG are the two teams currently showing the most interest in Ronaldo, which makes the most sense. Manchester United is, they have a lot of history there. He'd be perfect. They have a lot of money, as do PSG. And I know there's been rumors back and forth about potential trades with PSG. Obviously, with the likes of Neymar, or they talked about Mbappe. I don't see that happening, but I definitely could see Manchester United happening. I would like to see the possibility of a trade between Manchester United and Juventus for maybe Paul Pogba and Ronaldo. How likely that is occurring, I don't know. But I know I take a lot of flack or whatever for my differing opinions on Ronaldo, on his performances throughout the years. I understand he's a great player. To me, I still believe he is the greatest player to ever play the sport. But there's moments where he did not live up to that. But what I'm getting at is when I say that is I also understand that, more than likely Ronaldo's gone after the season. After his contract's up, he's gone. So I think the best thing that we could do now for both sides is to go ahead and get some kind of worth out of him, even if it's some kind of money for Juventus to put in their pocket, or if it's for them to use him in a bartering trade with, trying to get Pogba back. Honestly, you can look back and you look at that. Was it the 2015 team with for Juventus, where you had Morata, Dybala, Cuadrado, and Pogba all in that one image, and we could recreate that this coming season if they did that. Moving on to Corriere dello Sport, Juventus have told Jorge Mendes that he can work to find Cristiano another club. Again, no surprise. I think right now everybody can read the tea leaves. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows that Ronaldo more than likely wants out. He doesn't seem like he can win at Juventus for a Champions League. Not that Juventus can't win it, but that he does not seem to gel well with this team that they've concocted currently. Corriere dello Sport is also reporting that the objective is for Juventus to make 100 million euros by June 30th. This is how Juventus intends to plug the wounds of the Bianconeri coffers affected by the pandemic throughout the last year or so. By the closing date of the budget. The revenues guaranteed by the access to the Champions League have given some oxygen, but much more is needed. It is necessary to thin the squad. From this point of view, Juventus have already identified who to sacrifice in the name of the accounts. Cristiano Ronaldo is a discourse in itself. For this reason, Juventus is working on parallel exits. As reported by Corriere dello Sport, Juventus could also get rid of Szczesny, possibly sending him to the English Premier League, and that would open up the green light for Donnarumma to arrive in Turin. The capital gain, moreover, would be significant, given that the pole weighs only $7 million in the or 7 million euros in the budget. Mary Demiral is also another one that can go even from 40 million euros. That's one that we're looking at now. It was before it was he's untouchable, but now Demiral is definitely one of those expenditures that you may have to give up and you may have to forfeit, just because there's not a lot that you have to make up that capital gain. Then, of course, the most expendable of all is Aaron Ramsey. That's the one we want out. That's one that everybody knows is going to be gone. They're looking for an agreement somewhere for him to go in the EPL as well. There's also the two individuals of Arthur and Bernardeschi who would likely could try to relaunch. What we'll do with them, who knows? I've been on I've actually been more of a defender of Bernardeschi from the beginning, but now over the last year and a half, I've kind of seen, it's not going to work out. It's not, Bernardeschi and Juventus are not a match made in heaven. That's what I'll say. So to me, it'd be best to see him go. But for some reason, Allegri and Bernardeschi seem to be confident that they can kind of relaunch his career at Juventus. We'll see how that goes. Final list of players that returned from their respective loans include Rugani, De Sciglio, Perin, Luca Pellegrini, and Jasa. Those are all potential savings. We'll see what happens with them. To me, it's, sell what you can. All right. Moving on. Romeo Agresti has reported that the permanence of Dybala with the passing of the hours becomes more and more a reality. As for Alvaro Morata, Not really surprising, as we said. We expected Dybala maybe to play a bigger role now that Allegri'S back and Allegri'S here compared to how Pirlo or somebody else would have valued him, especially if he can stay healthy. Same for Alvaro Morata. I'm excited to see Morata. I think there were a couple moments where maybe he underperformed, but overall, I felt like he was a strong competitor in the. I think he was a great second striker to Ronaldo too. I think that was kind of underrated, all that he did for them. All right. The future of Cristiano Ronaldo remains to be written. In this regard, the entourage of Ronaldo has begun to look around, a clear sign of how this is destined to become a hot track to fall in the short term. Again, multiple reports saying Ronaldo's on the outs. That's the feeling. It seems to be he's out. He wants out. Juventus understands. Allegri seems to want him out. Might as well end on good terms. And then lastly, Agresti is reporting that the feeling, and maybe a little more, is that Juve wants to positively close the deal that leads to Locatelli. That seems to be the ongoing one. That's the one I want most tied there with Donnarumma, is to get Locatelli here in Juventus. He seems to want it. He's a solid midfielder, something we're drastically needing, especially if you've watched any Juventus in the last couple of years. So to get Locatelli in a Juventus uniform should be the priority, and hopefully they'll wrap that up here in the next coming weeks. Then on to La Stampa. La Stampa is reporting that Massimiliano Allegri would like to create a backbone of young Italian players at Juventus. The first two names they agreed on are Locatelli and, of course, Donnarumma. You're talking to me now. You're speaking my language. When you talk about Locatelli, you talk about Donnarumma. Those are two players that'll quell me and quell my complaints, in the offseason. That's what I want. Obviously, that's not all Juventus needs. Probably need another left back or two, as well as maybe an additional midfielder to go along with that. But to me, it just seems like Juventus plays so much better, and Juventus is Juventus when you have an Italian backbone. So right now you have Bonucci, you have Chiellini, and then you have Chiesa. Obviously, Bonucci and Chiellini probably aren't there for much longer. So in that time, I think it's good to get that Italian bloodline running strong in Juventus locker room. Lead 10 Sport and BILD are reporting that PSG are interested in bringing Pjanic in, as are Bayern Munich. Making a move to Juve is highly unlikely. There have been a lot of rumors that, I guess, since the return of Allegri, because there's a lot of love between Allegri and Pjanic. And then, and Juventus fans care a lot for Pjanic too. We'd love to see him return. Maybe when I say love to see him return, maybe I don't mean like he's one that I'm dying to see back in a Juventus uniform. But, if the opportunity were there and it was feasible yet, cheap enough, sure, might as well. But right now it seems highly unlikely, as in Bayern Munich are interested, as well as PSG. Okay, now to get into the probably the biggest story of the day, probably the most important story that involves Juventus, as well as the top clubs in Italy, would be involving the Super League. A note from the EU court, reported that the European Super League claims UEFA and FIFA are in violation of the EU competition rules, in reference from the Madrid court. And then a note from UEFA is saying that they take note of the announcement by the European Court of Justice of the referral from a Madrid court on the so-called European Super League, notwithstanding the withdrawal of 9 of its founding club members. UEFA is confident in its position, and it will defend it robustly. So what they're saying here is basically a brief explanation from us. Is just saying that the fact that the EU court took this in on an urgent procedure is telling. The Madrid court has referred a preliminary question to the EU Court of Justice in the Super League matter. The court will have to give an interpretation of the rules and will binding on all judges facing a similar issue for each of the different teams involved. Also, UEFA keeps talking about the 9 clubs that are involved, but the EU court will rule on having a monopoly. So the main issue here is basically UEFA keeps bringing up that the 9 teams left, and basically they're trying to go after, Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid. They just keep bringing that up, and that's like the main topic that they're doing. What they're failing to see, though, is that what the EU courts are really determining is it's not dependent on how many teams are in there. If there's 13, if there's 12, if there's 9, if there's how many teams are involved. What they're trying to determine is that they're ruling on if UEFA currently has a monopoly on competition, especially in a competition as highly touted as, say, a Super League would be, or, Champions League. Basically, the argument is that you can't establish a monopoly over sport, and really the whole thing that UEFA is trying to bring up just seems like nonsense, trying to either prolong it or trying to just discredit any of the current teams that remain in it. And a report from Serie B News is that Niccolò Fagioli could end up on a loan at a Serie B club. One of the clubs with the best chance of landing Fagioli on loan would be Cremonese, who could give him the chance to play as a starter. I really enjoyed what I saw from Fagioli, and I really appreciated his passion and his. It was kind of a similar thing I saw from Federico Chiesa when he played this season. Was just that it's hustle. Is what I call hustle. I don't know exactly what you green to, whatever you want to call it, but to me it was hustle, and it's something you don't see from a lot of players. Is Fagioli ready to play a starting role, playing 30 games for Juventus? No, so I don't see a problem with loaning him out. The only place where this might get a little bit iffy for me is, I hate to see a lot of players, especially if they seem to have a lot of talent and seem to have a lot of capabilities of possibly stepping up and actually representing Juventus. I hate to see them leave. Whether Fagioli is one of those players in the future, I don't know yet. It's yet to be determined. Maybe give him some more playing time, review him from there. But, you hate to see, especially like I go back to Moise Kean, and I hate to see that he left. So that's just something, and you kind of see the issues with, obviously it's a little bit different with Donnarumma, but you can kind of see the issues there in Milan. So hopefully we'll see. Hopefully, yes, you can make some money off Fagioli, but I would kind of hate to see him leave if he is promising in the future. Tuta Juve is reporting that the return of Piazza to Juventus on a permanent basis, even with the return of Allegri on the bench, are increasingly down. So, odd wording, but it's really the odds have decreased. It's less likely, not increasingly down, but whatever you want to call it. So basically, it's less and less likely that we'll ever see Piazza again in Juventus. He could either terminate his contract or be sold definitively. We'll see what goes on. We'll keep an eye on that. Okay. And then finally, Fabrizio Romano is reporting that Barca have not yet made a decision on Donnarumma. PSG and Juve are obviously still in the race. I'm a little bit confused. There's so many different little reports when it comes to Donnarumma. There's Monblano, who seems fairly confident that you'll see Donnarumma in a Juventus jersey next season, which, I hope he's right. And then as well as there's, Romano, and I think it was maybe Di Marzio, have also kind of been pretty big on the train that, Barca kind of get to just make the decision if they want him or not. So we'll see what goes with that. I kind of tend to doubt that, but we'll see. If it's me, the way I argue this is, if you're Juventus, you've been wanting Donnarumma for how long? Like, you've got to close that deal. You got to seal the deal. Because not only when it comes to Donnarumma, losing him isn't just losing a goalkeeper. Like, to me, when it comes to the goalkeeper, when you look at it, the goalkeeper of the Italian national team for so long has been a goalkeeper of Juventus. You look at Buffon, you look at other players before him. So I think losing on that opportunity, as well as, like, he's probably, outside of some issues with his footwork, playing the ball at his feet, I would say that he is one of the greatest goalkeepers currently playing the sport. So to lose out on him, and lose, especially at a young age, he's 22 years old. You look at Chesney, who is my age, he's 31. I think he's actually like a week or so younger than me. So if you lose out on a player that's 9 years younger than Chesney, and it could set you up for the next decade, to me, I just think that's egregious, and I just think it can't be done. Whatever it is, you got to get that deal done. And that's my personal opinion on the matter. And that's your news wrap up for the day. I'm Justin Sofro. Please feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to our channel, as well as hit that bell so you can get notifications every time we update. We'll try to update you now. Starting today, we're going to start trying to update you regularly with videos every single day with news updates. So please feel free to like, subscribe, and then also go on our Twitter and Instagram to follow us at Bianconeri Zone, and then follow me, Justin Sofro, on Twitter at Justin Sofro.